Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith, and this is a scout report / news item.
Yes,
to be precise. We're going to be talking about Ajax winger Antony. We're going to be looking at him, looking at his positives, negatives, what he's good at, what he could bring to Manchester United's team, and we're also going to be explaining why we're talking about Antony as well, because there has been a few reports, hasn't there? More than a few actually, linking him with a move to Old Trafford. So we're going to get into all that. First of all, just qualify why we started talking about it. There've been a few news items, as I said. Rob Dawson, I think your mate, you did a good interview with him last week.
Rob Dawson from the ESPN.
Yep, he was saying that he's sort of on United's list. He's a main target of ours, and that we're going to sort of looking to bring him into Old Trafford or making moves to bring him into Old Trafford. That was backed up as well by the Mirror. I think the Mirror reported that there could be a fee of around £40 million that's sort of agreed-ish. And we're not quite there yet, but it looks like that's tentatively could be
on the
to
table.
Bring him, to bring him to Old Trafford.
Yeah, reports again that we've sent scouts or we've sent sort of staff members over there to kind of try to conclude this deal for around a £40 million fee, which obviously, you know, is pretty big news if it's true.
If it's true, if any of this is true, it does make sense for lots of reasons, and the main reason is he's a player that could bring something we need to our attack. So, Joe, you've been doing your own work as always on him. What can you tell us a little bit? What can you tell us about Andy? What is it that you think would make him a good addition to Manchester United's squad?
Yeah, so we'll go through some of his sort of stats, some of his play style, what he does. You know, why basically Ten Hag wants him. I think obviously the main thing or a big thing is he knows him. You know, this isn't a player that was linked with United until we had Eric Ten Hag as manager. I don't remember seeing him linked last season. I don't remember seeing him linked when Ole was a manager or up until basically Ten Hag was announced. Now all of a sudden we're linked with every Ajax and former Ajax player of all time. So obviously that plays a big role here. Not that means he's not the right player, but obviously that plays a role. So some of the basics then for anyone who doesn't know, he's 22 years old, he's 5'9", he's a right winger, but he's left-footed, so likes coming in off that right-hand side, which is something that Ten Hag likes to do. He likes inverted wingers on both sides, so he likes players that can be dangerous, cutting inside and going past a man, and you know, with the overlap as well. So he started off at Sao Paulo, where he was born, made 32 appearances for them, scored 4 goals, and then only 2 years ago, so 2020, joined Ajax for £14.5 million. So not no money, but a relatively cheap transfer, especially when you're looking at, you know, upwards of £40 million that they might be selling him for 2 years later. Since he started at Ajax, he's played 79 times with 22 goals and 20 assists. So pretty productive. You know, 42 goals or assists in just under 80 games is pretty good, more than, you know, one every other game. And obviously he's a young player, he's only 22, so you assume he's not at his peak yet. We'll go through some more of his stats as well as we go along. He plays most of his games as well, which I know isn't really a sort of a quality, but he doesn't miss many games. Yeah. And we've had too many players, you know, even Rashford, who I know obviously he missed a lot of games this season because he was dropped, but over the last couple of seasons has missed a lot of games through injury. We've seen, you know, even the last...
Well, you look at Cavani, for example.
Yeah, well, of course, attackers.
Like, you know, we brought him in, what thought he could do a good job for us. Even that first season, me and you were always talking about this. There was a spell of 10 games where Cavani missed 9 of them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And okay, some of it was because he got that social media ban, but a lot of it was injuries. Second season, almost completely useless. Anthony Martial's had injury problems in the past. I know, again, like Rashford, he's sort of his form fell off a cliff. So you're right to look at that. Even Varane, who was our, you know, I was so excited when we bought Raphael Varane. He's missed like something like 16 or maybe even more Premier League games this season. Yeah. So it does make sense that United are looking at how often someone plays.
Yeah, and also he's a dribbler. Like, sort of fundamentally, he's great with the ball at his feet. I think he's in the top 2% of progressive carries across the top 5 leagues, or across Europe, sorry. So when he gets the ball, he drives at his man. That's what he does. He's not, you know, I think United have got certain players who don't really take the ball forward. They get it, they look up and they pass it backwards. Yeah. He's someone that gets on the ball and goes forward. He likes his left foot. Obviously he's left footed, but he does put the ball in with his right foot. He's in the top 7% for crosses and the top 1% for shots and shots on target total. So basically, he does it all in the final third. He goes past his man, he puts the ball in, but also, you know, he's up there with the most sort of productive shot takers in Europe. So he's someone that, you know, he isn't shy to get on the ball. He isn't shy to have a shot. He hasn't had that many goals or assists this season, or, you know, I think it was only 12 goals this season, but even so, he's someone that is constantly putting pressure on the opposition goal by just taking, you know, such a high volume of shots.
Also, as well, it's 22 years old. He's going to get better. You think when there's room for improvement, and we'll just quickly address the elephant in the room. There's a good chance that the person that perhaps would have been there, Mason Greenwood, won't play for Manchester United again. He might, I doubt it, but we don't know. And it certainly makes sense that you're bringing in someone for that position because you can't be relying on him either way.
No.
And Antony certainly fits the bill. What I like about this move as well, what I think one of the reasons why I can see it happening is certain clubs have a system that works for them. Whereas what they do is they'll bring in players or they'll nurture players through their academy and then they'll move them on after a few years. And what that also does is it sends a message to players. If you come here, you get a few years, we'll get a few years out of you. And if you want to move on, you'll move on. Dortmund do it. Dortmund do it all the time, whether it's Sancho, whether it's Haaland, whether it's countless players they've done it with over the years. Ajax do it as well. Ajax have done it under Ten Hag. You've seen the likes of De Jong and Van der Beek move on. It's a case of, you do well for us and then in a few years, if you want to move and you can bring in some cash for us, you can move on. And it's it's a good system, and obviously it sends another message out to younger players. If you go to Ajax, you're going to get nurtured, you're going to get looked after, you're probably going to win things, and then if you do want to move on, you can move on, which is kind of makes sense, this deal to me, that it could happen.
Yeah, me too. And I do think it's a big thing that he knows Ten Hag and Ten Hag knows him. I think that's a massive thing. Like the amount of times, I always say this, but managers bring players from their previous club. It happens constantly. It's not, obviously you end up getting linked with more Ajax players than we're probably interested in because of that, known fact that managers do that. But, pretty much all of our managers who have managed any clubs that have players as good, good enough for Man United, have brought those players with them. I know Solskjaer didn't, but I'm not sure how many players from Norway or from Cardiff he could have brought with him. Do you know what I mean? Just quality wise. But Jose did it, Moyes did it, Van Gaal did it, or players he's used in the past. So this would make sense that someone will come from Ajax. It looks like Timber might not happen now. We're linked with Lisandro Martinez, but he looks like he's probably going to go to Arsenal or stay at Ajax. So Antony makes a lot of sense to me. And if I just sort of run through a few more of his stats in terms of how he is in possession, his touches per 90 is in the top 5% of wingers in Europe. So he's someone who's comfortable on the ball, like we said before. He's good in this high possession system that Ten Hag likes to play. He's not someone that just, obviously he can do one-touch football, but he's happy to keep the ball and keep possession for his team. Again, he's in the top 5% for short passes completed, top 10% for medium passes completed. One thing where he does rank slightly low, obviously it's not just about what he's good at, it's what he does, is his passes into the final third are quite low. But his passes into the penalty area are in the top 2%. So I think some of that is because he's usually in the final third. So he can't be passing it into there because he's the one who's receiving it in the final third. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't, like a goalkeeper's passes into the first third would be low because they're usually passing it out of the first third. So I think that's why that is the case. In terms of goals created from passes, he's in the top 1%. Goals created from dribbles, top 2%. Goals created from a shot that leads to another shot, so deflections or sort of rebounds, again, he's in the top 1%. So he's just someone that puts all of his work into getting the ball near the opposition goal. That's what he's obsessed with, getting the ball near the opposition goal, whether it's for creating chances, for scoring goals himself, for taking shots on. He's almost, again, I'm comparing him to the 17-year-old version of Cristiano Ronaldo, the 18-year-old version. But do you know how he just wanted to just kick the ball at the goal all the time? Almost sort of, not mindlessly, but at times you sort of felt like, take your time a little bit. He kind of has a slightly erratic, he plays like a young player sometimes, where he just wants the ball, just get it at their goal as fast as possible, not really considering, the chance that it has of going in. I think that's something that he could sort of hone as he gets older. Just when to take the shot and how to sort of bide his time a little bit more. But he looks to me to be the exact sort of player that United need. And like you said, we're not as packed in that area as we once were.
No.
Like you said, Mason Greenwood being out of the squad potentially for good. We've got one striker at the club at the moment. It's only Cristiano Ronaldo. I know he's not a striker, but that means that, the other strikers or players who can play in those positions like Rashford, he might need to be playing as the number 9 now, even if he's, a winger by trade. Martial, another striker / winger, is on his way out of the club seemingly, or certainly out of favour. So at the minute you've got Elanga, Sancho, Rashford, who knows about Martial, again, who knows with Greenwood? That's it. You've got 3
and
covering
also,
2 positions.
Exactly.
It's not good enough.
And also, we've heard noises again and reports from various outlets that Rashford wants to stake his claim back on that left-hand side, that he's sort of been saying, listen, this is where I got 20-plus goals back-to-back seasons and I've been moved around. Doesn't suit me. So if he wants to play on the left, probably Elanga and Sancho arguably do better work on the left-hand side. That leaves that hole on the right for someone who wants to play on the right-hand side, who is left-footed as well and likes to cut in. I know I don't like to compare us and look at them because it's painful, but if you look at the way Liverpool's front three, it's worked so well. It's worked well because you've had a right-footed player on the left and a left-footed player on the right, cutting in the likes of Sadio Mane and Mo Salah with whoever's in the middle. United have always sort of jiggled about a bit and had a right-footed player on the right and a right-footed player on the left as well. Sometimes that doesn't work. I know when Greenwood was there, obviously it's slightly different. So it would be good to see an out-and-out left footer who can cut in, who can create chances, who can, like you say, dribble, get at the players, get at the fullback. We've not seen enough of that at Old Trafford recently, or United, I should say. Sancho did it in fits and starts. Marcus Rashford last season just seems to lose his mojo completely. Elanga did it a little bit, but again, his form towards the end of the season wasn't that great. I know he's only a kid, but it wasn't. So, we're lacking that player who can get the crowd going.
Yeah, and just a couple more things as well. So that's him in possession. We've talked about his passing, his dribbling, his sort of, threat creation, his goal creation. Out of possession as well, for a player that's so sort of, flair-oriented and skillful and such a good dribbler, he's a hard worker as well, which is obviously massive. You don't get away with messing around under Ten Hag. He's quite low in pressures, only in the bottom 17% for pressures. But in terms of attacking third tackles, so winning, tackling and winning the ball back, he's in the top 16% for that. He's in the top 2% for interceptions amongst wingers. So he's someone that wins the ball back in the opposition third a lot. Again, he's in the top 5% for ball recoveries for wingers. Like, he's someone that on the ball, he's all flair. He's all sort of, off the cuff sort of thinking. And then off the ball, he couldn't be more disciplined, which I think that's going to be the one thing that I think might surprise some of United's attackers. Like Rashford and Sancho, I know Elanga's more sort of naturally defensive, or he's more willing to track back. I don't know if that's his age or his inexperience or just that's what he's like. But I think if those two, especially Sancho and Rashford, want to be successful under Ten Hag, they're going to have to accept that, yes, we want you scoring loads of goals, but there's a reason Ajax conceded, 18 goals all season last year. It's because everyone on the pitch, including their sort of flair, skillful, dribbling wingers, are tackling more than 99%. Is in the top 1% for defensive actions amongst wingers. Like, he's working as hard as anyone defensively as well, and they all have to do that. And I think him coming in could even be a sort of a, oh shit, he's meant to be a skillful, selfish winger, and yet he couldn't be more disciplined. Hopefully that will sort of spread across the dressing room, because at the minute we've got too many players love getting forward, can't be arsed getting back.
No, there's another sort of added sort of caveat to this as well, in that there's been reports from Holland that Ajax are actually looking to bring players in. They need some funds. Yeah. They've earmarked a couple of players that they feel they could bring in to a similar position as to where Antony plays, and if they can get 40 million quid for him, that'll enable them to do that as well. So a lot of these sort of pieces, everything you've said from a player perspective makes sense. What he can bring to this team, what would be needed, why Ten Hag would want him, how it can benefit everyone. You mentioned there that it can give everyone a bit of a signal. Look at what he's doing. So when Bruno came in, we were awful.
Yeah.
We were 6 points off top. We've just been beaten by Liverpool at Anfield, beaten at home by Burnley, 2-0, awful performance. Bruno came in, and with his work ethic, with his desire, and also his ability, he gave everyone a lift. And all of a sudden, you saw players making runs. He was finding them with a pass. It gave us all a little bit of a boost, and everyone had a little bit more spring in the step because he brought that to the team. And hopefully, I know it's a lot of pressure on a young lad, but there's a reason Eric Ten Hag's looking at him. Hopefully, he can bring all that to United as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think whoever Ten Hag brings from Ajax with him, whether that's sort of De Jong via Barcelona, it's still kind of a Ajax, a Ten Hag guy, isn't it? Or whether it's Antony or both, they're going to be the ones that, sort of is going to be seen as, that's the manager's guy. That's how we need to be. So he better be good. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to bring the right attitude, because otherwise you're undermining the manager's sort of trust in you. And my thinking is, if Ten Hag is someone who's as, high work rate and sort of detailed as he is, if he thinks he's the right guy, then I sort of trust him with that.
Trust him with that. I trust him as well for now. Listen, I'm not going to start turning against Ten Hag until at least 3 games in. I'm joking.
Definitely.
Joe, great chatting to you.
Yes.
You've obviously done your own work, and I'm very excited about Antony. If we get him, I'll be absolutely buzzing. If he goes to somewhere else, I'll just dismiss everything you say and say there's a lot of rubbish.
I will.
You know what I mean?
I'll pretend this video never existed.
Exactly, it was rubbish for Ajax, and we didn't want him anyway. Make sure you go and check Joe out on the Sloppy Joe's podcast, also on your socials, Joe Smith 93. You know where to find me, Jay Moy. Check out all the other videos we've got on the channel, including that interview I referenced with Rob Dawson from ESPN. It was a good sit-down chat with Rob for a little while as well. Went in depth, went over a few stories as well. So it's it's not out of date. Go and check that out as well. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. This has been a Scout Report for Antony. Thanks for watching.